right? So I'm thinking, mate, Miles, you're 18, you're playing for Arsenal. Don't stress, mate. You'll get your time. But no, he wants that shirt. He wants it. He's prepared to do anything. You can see it in his game, can't you? And I want people like that because that's
Facts.
going to make Calafiori better. So rather than being discotheques, he needs to be running this summer to get fit. Because when he gets fit, he's a hell of a
Facts.
player. And so we're going to be better for it. So we need people who want to fight each other for that shirt, not people say, "Oh, I don't want to come because I'm not sure I'm going to usurp Havertz." Well, no, no, no. You should come and you should take him on because you're bigger, faster, stronger, and got a better shot. Why wouldn't you get that shirt over time? Do you see what I mean? You've got to have the
Million percent.
mentality. So I just wanted to put that out there, and Gyökeres is a bit more mature emotionally, and he's ready for the fight. Now I still want Zesco because I think he's more coachable, he's got more
I
to
think there's
grow.
a player in that guy.
Yeah, and but if the club do think well he's not strong enough mentally and they go for Gyökeres, then I'm fine with that too. You know, because this is Arsenal, right? And we our eyes are sharp on these players, right? So we need them to bring that mentality this time with them.
Do you think there's going to be an unfair amount of pressure on? Well, there's going to be pressure. We can hold on this pressure kind of talk. Do you think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the striker, regardless of where it's Gyökeres or Sesko? Because I do think most rational fans don't expect you to do what I'm about to say, but there is a feeling like over 38 games, you need to score 1 million goals or you're in serious trouble. Like, do you think there's a big amount of pressure on their shoulders of whoever in comes to this football team?
I don't think so much for the centre forward, although there will be indirect pressure. But as long as we're scoring and winning, it'll be fine.
True.
We are 15, 20 goals, 15 goals down, right? So maybe 20. So we got to find out amongst the team. So I think we can give the time that Saka and Havertz missed, Odegaard missed. We've got goals out there. So we might only need 10, 12 goals from that player. That's all we need. I think the unit is important. And I think the two signings are important. I think the left wing is a first 11 signing for me. So
Facts.
the centre forward is just part of a group, but eventually will be the number one if you go for the
Exactly.
younger guy, right? So and I think Sesko's got the ability to be our number one in a couple of years' time, and but there be no debate, you know. But he needs to spend time here and develop to do that, right? So yeah, and Havertz allows us time to do exactly that, and he is versatile, so it's not the end of the world. So we need to do it. It needs to happen. There is no excuses. January, I can take it because if you're gonna deliver in the
But you
summer,
have to deliver in summer.
but you have to deliver in the summer, and maybe losing our sporting director, having a new director, redoing some of the backroom recruitment staff. Maybe we just stalled for 1 year, but while we stalled, we come second and got to Champions League semi-final, and that was in a stall year. So now we need to rev up the engines again and go.
Exactly. There's no games being played. I got to ask you though, because when I try and fight, I like Gyökeres. I'd be happy with Gyökeres. I'm a big fan of Sesko, but there's always a rebuttal that is put my way when I speak about Sesko, away from the obvious. People, when I say, oh yeah, maybe in a year or two, not that he can't impact us immediately, but in a year or two he might be the guy. They always say, oh DG, we need to win now. Like it's a win now mode. We don't care about players like that. We're not in that realm anymore. Do you have any rebuttal to that? Because that is something that I must admit, when people ask me, I'm scratching my head, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so we all want to win now, right? So again, I went to Emirates for the Women's Champions League games, right? And I go and watch the women's games, and it's a family day out. It's not as intense as the men's stuff, but I really, really enjoy it.
We actually win stuff with the women as well, man. Shout out
Well,
them.
it works. We weren't expecting to win, and what it taught me was, and I was so emotional about it and so happy that they won, you know. And you do it. You talk to your audience. You have your channel. And we talk about the journey and the process and where we are, why we are where we are, what's happened in the last game, what's happening in the next game, and we talk about this journey all the way along. We're so wrapped up in the journey that we've actually forgetting what it's like to win, what that feels like,
Being in the
and
present.
it being and so everyone wants the same thing. We all do. So everyone in your comments now, they all want Arsenal to be a bit better so we can win. Right. So there's no guarantees we're going to win. So that's why we have to focus on how we're behaving to try to win. We stalled last year. The eyes are on us this year to make sure we're still progressing, still going forward, still seen as a serious threat, because our competitive landscape are going to get better. Right. So there is no debate here. There is no choice. We have to do it. But no one can guarantee winning. You can't.
Just put your
Right.
best foot
So
forward.
you just got to go. Right. We haven't won the league for over 20 years. Think that through. We've only been in Champions League semi-final 3 times in our history. This is not easy to do, right? So, but we need to be trying, and we dropped off a bit last year, so we need to get back on it again. That's where I am.
I'm with you with that. You mentioned Berta, so it's a good segue into that. Like Andrea Berta, like what do you first thing I'd ask you is what do you think of the power dynamic between Arteta and Berta?
Um,
If
Absolutely
there is
fine.
any.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Right. So, you know, I'm glad we went for somebody externally because I think he brings in new ways of working and different experiences that we can all
Facts.
leverage from. You only know what you know. If you're not exposed to different people, different ways of working, then how are you going to develop and learn? So to bring in new people into our internal executive group, I think was really important. Really important. And we might develop another way. If we get worse, delete that bit of the delete that bit. but but
We're
for
in trouble,
me,
man, if that happens, God forbid.
we're bringing a guy in his 50s, experience in his field, and we should be better for it. But it's to be proven. I'll come back on in 5 weeks' time when we signed everybody, and I say, "Yeah, see, I told you." But at this moment in time, I don't know, right? So, and so I think it's important. Don't worry about the Jokeres Sesko thing. We're a team of people there that are working their strategies. I think we have to allow ourselves time to learn how this guy operates in Berto. We think we know, but we don't know because this moment in time, he hasn't signed one person yet. And so he's going to be judged on his outcomes. He's going to be judged on who he signs. He's going to be judged on how he builds our current assets also, builds their value. People are not going to make it here. How's he going to loan them out? How's he going to build them? It's all part of the party, right? So I think that's how he's going to be judged. So at this moment in time, don't look for divisions. Try to learn how he's operating. And then the judgment and the measurement will be on who he signs.
Do you think he's got too much to do in essentially one window, like in terms of the outgoings, the new deals, the bringing in players, etc., etc.? Because it feels like he's got a lot to do. Like renewals, for example, fair enough. Magalhaes is done. We're hearing about Thomas Partey and Trossard, but then you've got the Sakas, the Salibas, so on and so forth. And we've been speaking about incomers for the best part of this show. Like, do you think he's got a lot to do in a matter of months, really, and a couple of months, better yet, Clive?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot, but I also think some of that was left. So for those guys who worked in, I've worked in corporate environments my whole life, right? So when you're about to leave your job, you've normally left it a little while before. That means you're already thinking about leaving, right? So when you're an executive with a
That's
6 month
how I felt
gardening
about
leave
Edu, to
period,
be fair.
exactly, Edu, he left. He's already leaving, right? So and so I think it's quite clear we needed some rejuvenation there, and so yeah, I'm just hopeful that we're on the right path again now. We're back aligned, but it's okay to have a dip. I can
It's
remember
natural.
when Liverpool lost all their centre backs that year. They had to get Nate Phillips, or his name was, in January from Preston to play at centre back. They
Reese
came fifth.
Williams.
Yeah, they came fifth that year. It all fell apart. They came fifth. You know, it's what Man City have done to recover into the Champions League was good work, really good work. Look what Villa invested this January, made
Good point.
changes in the Champions League, got to a quarterfinals, did a great account of themselves, had a fantastic season. They're in the Conference League now, and Spurs are laughing at them. Lose
Man,
22 games, they're in the Champions League. How do you think they feel?
life is crazy.
Now their progression is being threatened by financial regulation. They can lose some of their star players just because they didn't qualify for the competition that has the most revenue in it. So it's not perfect what we're doing. I'm not making excuses. But while we were flat, we are still there third year in the Champions League in a row. Last four in the competition. We didn't really compete in the league for long enough. But let's see what we can do now. Right?
And
So
that's what I'm on, Clive, because it's like I don't want to be disingenuous to Arsenal, and it's not to say we're the biggest and baddest and best in the world, but I genuinely feel in my heart, before I can look at congratulations to Liverpool for winning the league this year, or City in the previous other years, or whoever's won the champs. I've always left these, like in the Champions League when we've gone out, or however the league's panned out. I've always felt in my heart that we haven't controlled the controllables. We haven't, and I'm not saying it's easy, but we haven't maximized like our final form and how good we could be. And I see that as the biggest blessing, but the biggest curse. And I hope Berta can come in and do things. I do want to ask you about the Cronkies. Like, do you feel it's a bit unfair if people share the thoughts about Cronky out and the Cronkies don't want to win, etc.? Because on one hand, I can understand it, but then on the other hand, respectfully to Arteta, they betted on you when you had no real CV to get this role. Since they've taken like full ownership of the club, you've seen Declan Rice brought in, we've ripped up contracts. We have spent a bit of money. Now, am I saying it's the best? Am I saying they're perfect? Of course not, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the ownership.
it's very difficult with this sort of thing because when we talk about football, if I can say to you, DGR, the way we attack down the right hand side, we do this, we do that, we roll, we have runners inside, we have third man runs. You can say, yep, Clive, but sometimes we do this, we do that. We can see it with our own eyes. You know, sometimes when you watch a game, you walk away with something. I might see something different to you, but it's all there. We can rewatch it again and we can see
Beauty
it.
of football.
We don't know what goes on in the mahogany rooms, mate. We don't know what's going on. Let's not pretend that we do. You know, let's not pretend we understand the financial regulation that we're working under. Let's not pretend we understand the 3 to 5 year roadmap. Let's not pretend we understand what we're going to do with our ground, for example.
Facts.
Yeah, what projects are in place? They live in the future. They don't live in this transfer window. They live 3 years down the
They're
road,
businessmen.
right? The Emirates deal ends in 2028. That's where their heads are. What do? We will make our ground a multi-purpose ground. What do we do? How's that happen? You know, so we have to almost stay in our lane. Almost, we can see the football. We can't see that. We don't know where they are. I've done some charity stuff for the Arsenal Foundation before. Not me on my own, but the whole podcast. We other podcasts. We raised some money, and I was fortunate enough to just meet Mikel Arteta briefly, just literally for a minute. And let me tell you and your audience, there is nobody that wants it more than him. Nobody here wants it more than him. The man is so intense. He made me almost scared of my own shadow.
That's like when I went to a press conference. That is
Yeah.
one thing that hits you with Arteta. I hate to use like the words people are using, but there's like aura. Like he can command the room without speaking. Like he speaks with conviction. He just got something about him.
There's
So you're right.
nobody wants it more than him. So don't think that they're doing this to you or against you, right? They're just trying, right? So they're not trying to hurt us. They're not trying to hurt us. They're really trying hard, right? So and there were times in the past when I thought we were even trying, you know. And some
1,000,000%. You're not alone.
Some of the decisions lacked intelligence, you know, and medium to long term thinking. So we're now doing things correctly. We're now getting people through our academy. Our average age is good. Our squad value is really, really high, right? And our potential once we re-sign the key pillars of the group is massive. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Long as we don't divide, right? And because people want to divide us big time, right? So because they know we're a threat. So
facts. And that's the thing, man. Division. I think I always say on my channel, I don't tell you what to think, just think. And I think many fans need to be level-headed. By all means, if there's things to be upset about, be upset. And if there's things to be good about, well, be happy about, be happy kind of thing. I think a lot of fans are frustrated. I think you can have legit question marks about Mikel Arteta's ability to get over the line and etc. But you don't need to make out he's a bad manager. If he was a bad manager, better yet, we wouldn't have done what we've done in the Champions League. We wouldn't be second. We wouldn't get all the ratings we get from actual people that work within football, whether they're being patronizing or not. That wouldn't be there. I do have to ask you though, like, is there serious pressure on Arteta, in your opinion, to win a Premier League or win silverware? Because I always say in my platform, I ask everyone, if we had the same season in terms of where we finished in the comps this year coming, God forbid, would he necessarily get sacked? I'm not too sure.
I think it's important that we see progression, because I don't think we did last season in the same way. We saw some progression, but we didn't see enough. So for me, I don't want to say he's going to get fired, but I just want to see Arsenal compete. You know, I just want to see him compete. I think it's just so important that we keep competing at the top level and we don't lose any trust. You know, I think if you start to question and lose trust, and people, I saw one of your comments earlier said 70% of the signings were bad. I think that's just
That's
not
not true.
that's
No,
just not true. You know,
you don't
over
need
the
to
last
lie.
over the last 3 years, look at our points we've collated. So they can't be all bad, right? So things like that, we just need to be intellectually honest about what we're seeing. I am.
People can't be honest, man.
I've said that we looked a bit boring on occasions this year. You know, I've explained why. It's not about it's being flowers all the time. There are things that are clear, but there are reasons why, right? So, and we need to do more. We need to make sure we excite people getting the top end of the pitch, and that's the next phase of our evolution. Let's get on with it, you know. And then the reason we can say that now because we're not kicking the ball in our own net all the time. We've got a good set of defenders that are really strong that anyone in the world would take. You know, Real Madrid would
Best
take two of
defensive
our.
partnership in the league.
Real Madrid would probably take three of our back four right now, right? You
God
know,
forbid, but you're right.
yeah, just take three of them. You know, and where else is there for them to go? You know, so don't grow. We've grown used to them, but I don't realize we need to realize how far we've come and where we're heading to, right? So, but we got work to do though. We can't sit here and roll out the same squad. That will not work for anybody.
And you're right, man. That is what we need to do. Why do you think, yeah, in your opinion, that like it appears that we're talking to Gyökeres, then talking to Sesko, then talking to Ollie Watkins? Like, do you think we're just playing them off each other? We're just keeping our options open, or like what? As I run through this briefly, for you need to go.
Yeah. I think, like I say, we're learning about how he operates. I at this moment in time, it's fun, right? If if we don't end up with anybody, that's not
If we
fun.
get Watkins, question marks,
Well, if
because then you should have got him in Jan.
yeah, my son said something the other day. I want the one that wants us the most. That's what I want.
You know what, your son? That's a great comment.
Yeah, he's like that, right? So I want the one that wants us the most, and sometimes it's that simple, you know. And so let's see.
I
Let's see.
reckon that's probably Ollie Watkins, but I think Sesko's the one we get.
Yeah, hopefully.
But hey, it is what it is. Next one for you. Would you make? Well, we've gone over Nico Williams, in fact, and it's a non-starter. Anthony Gordon's an interesting one.
Yeah, I did. You know, the Talksport show that we did. I did that last week, and I spoke to about him. I can only say what I see, right? So I don't know if you went to a Newcastle game this season, the league game when we beat them 1-0. In that game, I had a good look at him, and he was, for part of that game, for the first hour of that game, he was outstanding. He ran us to death down that flank. You think about the away game, he set up the goal for Isak's header and the 1-0 win, and he's been a problem. Now, I think
Been a
he wants
thorn in
to
our
go.
side a lot of times.
Yeah, I think he wants to go to Liverpool. That's what I think he really wants to
Same.
do. Yeah, and his best mate's Curtis Jones. He wants to be with him. He wants to play for Liverpool. But I can't help but say, you know, Semenyo, when I saw him, when he came on Bournemouth home game, looked powerful, looked really strong, looked a threat, you know. And but Gordon has been really good. So those two have impressed me this year. Obviously, the PSG boys weren't bad, but those two have impressed me this year the most. So yeah, I don't dismiss it if it would work, but I don't think it's going to happen, you know. But I just want to
Gonna
say
cost
that
too much.
he's a talented player, really is. But sometimes, much like Nico Williams, you want them to be where they want to be. Nico Williams wants to play for Barca. Why are we taking him? You know,
It's not
Anthony
making sense.
Gordon wants to go to Liverpool. That's who he is. He's a Liverpool person, right? He wants to be there. If they get rid of Diaz at some point, that's where he wants to go.
And he
So
fit them like a glove, to be fair.
absolutely fit them. And so sometimes you're almost happy for them to be where they want to be because it's a short career, right? So right, that's where I am.
You're bang on the money. My last one for you then. Do you have any real, obviously you're not an ITK, you don't work for Arsenal, but do you have any real hope we get Rodrigo?
Yeah, I do. Based on the fact we asked questions about him in January. And Madrid said no, we can't
Wow.
replace him. Right. So that's out there. That's been reported. So yeah, this is not just out of the blue. These things never are, right? So these clubs talk all the time, right? So of all the ones, he's probably the one, but he's also the one that I've actually seen live against Miles, and he weren't pretty. Right? So so
Miles a
I
difficult player. We'll have to allow him for that.
yeah, Miles is not. He ain't messing about. Right? So
He's definitely not built as an 18-year-old. I don't know what Miles has been eating, but he's
no,
damn.
no. He just looks at him and said, "Well,
Unit.
where do you think you're going?" That's the end of that competition. So we never got a
Exactly.
chance to see him on the, away from Miles, and because we got good defense, right? So on the right back on that home game, Timber was as good, So sometimes you don't realize what you have, right? So, but Rodrigo will be the one.
I mean, I hope you're right. I want Rodrigo. I feel a lot of dominoes need to fall. I don't think we're going to learn anything until after the Club World Cup, or Rodrigo makes it evidently clear I want to leave, or Real Madrid make it clear I want to sell. But I hope we